Hi, and welcome to the Psychic Hour, where you can get the answers to your most challenging questions concerning life, love, or the afterlife. Starring Cindi Sansone-Braff, the Romance Whisperer, a relationship expert with a twist. She talks to the dead to teach you how to live well and love better. Named Best Psychic 6 times by the Long Island Press, she is the author of Grant Me a Higher Love, Why Good People Can't Leave Bad Relationships, and Confessions of a Reluctant Long Island Psychic. Joining her tonight and always is the show's producer and host, Nicole Semidei. Nicole, a talented artist, writer, entrepreneur, and intuitive, shares her unique perspective on the Grant Me a Higher Love philosophy, which is the spiritual foundation of their show. Welcome back. This is so great because we've gotten through the worst of the winter, I hope.
I think so.
We're going to be talking about simple ways you can open your spirit and pave the way toward a grace-filled life. Now, that sounds like a mouthful and hard, but really, it's not. Look, anyone who knows me, I wasn't sitting under a Bodhi tree waiting for enlightenment. I was like the least likely suspect.
On top.
That was not me to open up to spirit. But over the years, and it's been probably 33 years now, which is a pretty long time, spirit would guide me to simple ways to really recharge our batteries. Every day we have to make a conscious choice, a conscious intention to live within spirit, live within the concept of grace. I think we need grace more than ever because grace is just cutting some slack to ourselves, to others, giving a little kindness, a little unconditional love, and not being so judgmental and mean, because what's been channeled to me for the last few months from Spirit is they are very concerned about the level of meanness permeating through the world. And I have said it over and over again that the highest evolution of a human being is kindness. If we are, as a society and as a world, getting meaner, that means we are devolving. As a species, we are devolving. We have to wake up each day and say, I don't care how mean someone else is. I don't care what energy they're giving me. I am going to continue to give a positive energy infusion wherever I go, because that's what will keep me healthy. If you sit in your room all by yourself and you DoorDash and you work from the home and you never go to the bank or go out and meet people, you're going to get sick because your immune system actually needs to give out positive energy as much as it needs to get it back. So even if we go out in the world and people are not responding with like kindness, sometimes they can have an attitude. That doesn't mean we stop giving it, because if we don't give out those vibes, we are going to get sick. So if you think just being nice is for other people, no, it's also for you. With that, one of the things that I think we need to practice daily is a stillness, being in our own space that we have termed quiet therapy.
Yes.
Just being happy with your simple things that you do. That could be just doing a little deep breathing, going for a walk by yourself without listening to a podcast, not to tell them not to listen to our podcast, by the way, or without listening to an audible book or music even. Once in a while, sit in your yard by yourself, sit in your car by yourself. It works for me, quiet. I absolutely crave quiet. Okay, I crave it. How do you feel about quiet, Nicole?
Honestly, like I am a very, very difficult. I find quiet therapy to be probably one of the harder things
I know that.
because it's very, very difficult for me. I mean, aside from the fact that I'm naturally loud, and my wife will tell you.
No, not Nicole.
Yes, but like I tend to, when I am not in a place where I am managing myself or managing my thoughts, when I get caught up in the chaos, the worst thing I could do is go quiet, because like I'll just go like deeper into an abyss. So I practice noise therapy in those times. But once I get myself, into a better, headspace, and it comes with allowing a little bit of quiet a little bit at a time, One of the things that I actually learned from you is that the concept of quiet therapy is less about escaping the world and more about just kind of embracing your true self, your true thoughts, and
Clay.
embracing what's going on in here, not shutting out what's out there. Because then you realize, because I think a lot of people also have this misconception that in order to have quiet therapy, you need to be in absolute
No,
quiet.
you don't.
Not necessarily, though.
Right.
Sometimes quiet therapy could be in a very, very loud place,
Right.
but it's you that's still. It's you that's quiet. You're not talking. You're not reacting. You are just embracing yourself.
True quiet therapy that I have come to embrace and what was channeled to me from spirit doesn't necessarily mean you can't be listening to music or even listening to a podcast. It means that you're by yourself, not with another person's energy in the room, because we're all empaths now. Even people that never felt energies before, as of 2024, we all read energies, we all sense it, we all feel it. So sometimes we just need to be by ourselves. And it's a really deep, dirty secret that I don't often share, but I'll share on our
Ooh.
podcast, that I love being alone. Okay. And anyone who's a
I love
very
that.
high empath, I
Hmm.
am the most peaceful and the happiest when I have some time to myself. I don't want to be by myself all the time.
No.
But I normally will sigh great relief
Hmm.
when I have a half an hour all to myself. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so great. I'm so peaceful. I'm so happy. I'm so joy filled.
Cindy, you will be somewhat proud of me for this, and it will also probably come to others as somewhat of a shock. But the other day, just because you said it, the other day, I must have been on. Okay, like I was hyper aware of everything, and it was the morning, and I was already restless myself, but I had a hyper awareness. And then Lisa wakes up and she like, and she was just going on, like talking about worries about things that haven't even happened yet. And finally, like, and asking me questions. She goes through this thing or whatever where her mind literally gets paralyzed. She doesn't want to make a mistake. So,
Right.
like, she's filling out this thing and she's like, when did I start working? I'm like, I didn't know you then, right? And she kept asking me, and then finally, I was like, Lisa, I'm like, this is your life and you're asking me about him. You need to leave the room for 10 minutes. I need you out of here. Come back in 10 minutes. Go. You're making my eye twitch. And I kicked her out of the room I was in for 10 minutes so that I can bring myself back
Okay,
down.
you could bring it back. Now, interesting what you said about her and her worrying about things that haven't happened
Oh my
is
God,
one of
yes.
the very big downloads. And I've never
Mm-hmm.
had such a big download as I was woken from spirit 4 months ago, or maybe it's 5 months now. And they said, you're not going to get all this download for probably 4 months, but we are giving you a huge download that will evolve as you're doing your readings. You'll hear what we need to say, but the one thing they said to me is, we cannot help you people if you have 1,000 worries about the future, because spirit guides are and ancestors are starting to just hand it back to God and saying, I don't know what to do with these million worry thoughts this person
Yeah.
has per hour. And in the past, if only I hadn't done this, if only that hadn't happened, if only this, because they don't know how to filter through that. So the little analogy or metaphor they gave me was, picture that tomorrow or the future
Mm-hmm.
is a wall
Yeah.
and there's a door. The door cannot be opened until tomorrow. It is not accessible and you don't know what it brings. Now, the law of attraction almost made people have a lot of false beliefs that they could sit in their room and visualize, I'm going to visualize $1,000,000 and it's going to be
It's going to
airlifted
come
to
to
me.
me.
No, that was a way to get people to stop thinking negatively so much about the future. But what was channeled to me very loud and clear from spirit is, any thoughts about your future, good or bad, we don't hear them. So it's for you, maybe, if you're going to have this what if negative, which we'll have, what if I lose a leg? It's not what if I win the lotto. If you're going to have those what if thoughts and they're going to be negative, well, then just put what if it all works out? What you do in the now, that's the highest energy frequency, is where peace is found in this moment. What you do today, you're dotting your I's, you're maintaining your papers, careful and cautious, doing the work that's on your plate today
Mm-hmm.
ensures good things tomorrow. Now, there are random acts of karma we talk about that spirit can't predict, the drunk driver that comes and kills you. But that has nothing to do with your worrying. That they can't see it, we can't see it, so what are we even thinking about it for? So if we could start looking at the future as that door that has to be opened the next day. The good opening happens from what we do today, the thoughts we do have, the positive thoughts we have, the positive actions, the positive energy we give out, the positive vibes we allow in. We'll make that better. That's something that we all have to practice because
Completely.
this OCD worry has gone off the charts. COVID pushed it up a couple of notches. It's a fear of death and dying and survival.
It's
We
terrible.
have to crank it down. So that's why this practice of stillness, of quiet therapy, that goes along with the next thing, which is keep a gratitude journal or be in gratitude. Like all day long, say thank you. Something goes right, your computer suddenly works, somebody comes and fixes something that's broken, something works out that you weren't sure, you just say thank you. Thank you for that. And be in gratitude for the fact that you have food, the fact that it's freezing out there and you have heat, the fact that you have shelter, the fact that you have love and friends and a job. And I don't care what job it is right now. If
It's your
you're
job.
working, be in gratitude. That may not be your forever job, but do that job with gratitude, with the maximum effort. You will find that the universe loves gratitude. Now, Nicole, I think you are a person that lives in gratitude. There's one thing
100%.
I know about you.
100%. I am grateful for everything. And this is a hot topic in my household too. And it's actually, it really is. Because
Topic.
no, actually, because Lisa and I do discuss this pretty often. Regardless of how difficult money may be, I still have a nice apartment.
Yes, you do.
I have little fur babies that I absolutely adore, and I tell them that I love them probably about 100 times a day. You know, Lisa and I, we have a whiteboard on our refrigerator, and it usually has things that we need to take care of, get laundry, folded, things, make doctor's appointment. And on the bottom of it, though, one day Lisa wrote me, like a little like love note on the bottom, and then when I saw the love note after she left the house, I changed it and I wrote one back. And I can't even tell you when this started, but we're still writing little notes back and forth to each other.
Being in gratitude means saying thank you to people who help you, who go out of their way to help you, because that's also an energy infusion. To help someone, we feel good to help someone, but it feels good to have that person acknowledge that we have helped them, that we went out of our way.
Lack of manners is one of my pet peeves.
It's bad now. It's bad.
It's one of my pet peeves. I can't
bad.
stand it.
And again, it's just please and thank you, courteous, holding a door for someone. Now, spending time in nature can open up spirit, by the way. That's the joy therapy combined with nature therapy. Remember, spirit created everything in nature to soothe us. The colors, the smells, the sounds, the negative ions that come off of water, the salt. It is therapy. And if you're feeling really sad and you're feeling maybe there's not much to be grateful for, I'm not in a mood to be grateful when everything's going wrong. If you sit out in nature and a butterfly comes by and maybe you see a beautiful flower, this really is healing. So yes, we've had a cold winter, but the snow in its own way is very beautiful. You could go out. I don't mind snowshoeing or shoveling. Everybody hates it. I don't mind cross-country skiing. I like exercise. I like the outdoors. And spirit is where you can get a lot of signs from the other side, too. A butterfly coming at a certain time, a dragonfly, a hummingbird, just seeing a spirit animal that's unusual to see. Like, could you imagine this summer, all of a sudden, I wasn't sure what they were in the water near me at the Great South Bay. I thought maybe they were sharks for a minute until they were so playful. Little porpoises jumping around by me and showing me their bellies. And I thought, I have a pod of porpoises with me in the Great South Bay.
That's great.
I thought that was a beautiful spirit animal.
I love it.
So nature provides spirit's way of talking to us, spirit's way of comforting us. And if we don't spend time in nature, we're going to get really neurotic. So far, the things we've been talking about, quiet time, being in gratitude, spending some time in nature, don't cost money.
No.
A lot of people think we have to be these spiritual capitalists, to open up spirit, which means we have to buy 1 million crystals. We have to buy 1 million overpriced candles to light. if you know me personally, I don't do any of those rituals, but
Mm-hmm.
if they comfort you, I'm not knocking it, but I'm saying if you're dead broke, that doesn't mean you can't open to spirit. If it's the poorest day and you don't have a penny to you, that doesn't mean you can't get the wealth of nature and the wealth and abundance that spirit's showing you, and just being positive and giving off energy. So what we're talking about here is you don't have to invest anything but yourself in this process. You don't need money to do this. So much now is people have to spend money, like even gyms. We have to laugh. January 1st of every year, everybody signs up for the gym. If everyone went to the gym that they signed up, we wouldn't be able to fit in the place. But they think because they laid their money down, that means they're going to get in shape. No, you didn't have to pay for that gym. You could have decided to go for walks, work out at home, or whatever. Just paying money doesn't make things happen. Things happen because we make them happen. The next one I thought we would discuss today is reflect before reacting.
Mm-hmm.
Practice that pause. Even bad tempers, 1 second without thinking. Sometimes we feel like we have to answer right away. Maybe just listen, pause,
Reflect.
think about it, and sometimes even say, I don't know what to say about that right now. I got to think about that one. I think people would rather hear you say that than freak out or give some advice that you really don't know if it's the right advice, by the way. You just think you got to give them something. But we don't tend to just give that airspace. And we have to also learn if someone's taking a moment to pause in their thoughts, give them that grace, let them gather their thoughts and give them that moment to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think people have forgotten that art of that sometimes we just need a minute to catch up.
Well, I think that a lot of people, when they're faced with certain situations, they automatically go on the defense.
Yeah.
So I think that act of defending yourself is why people are quick to
Yeah.
snap. They just it immediately becomes conflict instead of like a teachable moment or a moment where you yourself can learn and things like that. So I think that not taking that pause is more like just it's like a defense, it's like a flinch. And people need to realize that just because somebody asks you something or whatever, if it's controversial, doesn't mean that you need to answer right away. If somebody asks something of you and you're just not quite sure, it doesn't mean anything if you're not quite sure. Just say, hey, I'm not quite sure. Give me a minute, or I'll get back to you on that. If there's something controversial, your first instinct is going to be to defend yourself, but you may have to get what your perception is in line first before you make that assessment.
And not grant grace to the person. The first thing is going to come out of our mouth will be judgmental. I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee it.
Yep, I agree.
We'll be saying, how could you have done that? How could
I have been guilty of it.
we all are? We all are. Okay. And again, you want to say, how the hell could you have done that? But meanwhile, maybe that person's already beating themselves up. So taking that pause might come out as, okay, so now what can we do to fix this? Rather than judge it, it comes up with more of a solution. So learn that the pause just means our first instincts are usually what we've been programmed to answer. They're not necessarily the best answer. So that pause gives us time for higher consciousness to put a word in our head or a thought in our head. Even when I'm doing readings for people, Spirit speaks quick. It's like computer fast.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I have to wait a minute to see if I'm hearing it correctly. And I almost feel like people are like, why aren't you saying anything? Well, because I need a minute to make sure that I'm hearing correctly what they're saying, because it may not be something I want to deliver. Then I have to think, how am I going to say this in a way they can hear it? Just remember, we don't need to always answer the first thing that comes to our mind. Because later we might say, I wish I hadn't said that. I can't believe I even said that. Why did I say that? They didn't need to hear that. They already knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't help that situation.
Yep.
I only made it worse. Now, I like reading inspiring text or scriptures or poetry.
Yep.
Or self-help books. When I wrote Grant Me a Higher Love or any of my books, it's to give a higher way of looking at things, a different perspective. And of course, you could say, well, that costs money. Well, you could go to the library, by the way. And you don't even have to go anymore. You could put the little hoopla or whatever it be on your phone. And at the push of a button, you got a book. And a lot of texts are not copyrighted anymore and they're free. online.
You can get them on Google.
You could also go through the little free libraries out there. And we all have so many books. I could spend the rest of my life in my home and
Just
still not
reading
read
books.
all the books that I have. Go through your library that you have at home. See, also go through what you might have already bought on Kindle. That book you read 8 years ago may resonate entirely different now. Pick up any religious text, pick up any book that is soulful and open to any page, by the way. And you might be surprised that it has the guidance that you need at that moment.
I always reread my books.
Exactly. So those are things you can combine some of these little therapies that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Reading a book in nature by
Yeah.
yourself would be quiet therapy with joy therapy and a little nature therapy all in one. And suddenly you're feeling more spiritual. What we're trying to get here is to the place of kindness. If we're never pausing and we're never doing these therapies and we're always running from one place to the next, we are going to be tense and we're going to be uptight and we're going to be negative energy and we're going to be drained. So these are ways to recharge your batteries at the same time inviting spirit in. Because spirit takes these little things as invitations. Wow, they invited us in. They made room for us. They made space for us. Spirit always rewards any little effort. What was channeled to me years ago? If you would just take a little tiptoe forward, spirit will leap to meet you. But you do have to take baby steps forward towards spirit. And each day in that reflective moment of your day, where did I waste my energy? Where did I respond harshly? Where did I respond with a program response instead of a more well thought out one? Where could I have given someone grace? Where could I have given them that kindness, that unconditional love, that humanness of saying, yes, I've been there. I know how that feels. And it's giving people a little bit of understanding. And that's where the next one, where we're practicing compassion for other people.
Yep.
Be kinder to yourself and others. Compassion means you understand, you've been there. Even if you haven't been exactly there, you know how people get there. Spiritual openness happens when we let go of judgment, when our judgment softens. Spirit comes in and offers help. So compassion is something that we can cultivate more, but being aware that we're not so compassionate. It isn't something everybody has tons of all the time. Be that compassionate, empathetic person. And that means sometimes just listening. They don't even need us to have the answer. Just letting out something takes 90% of the whammy of that experience away, even if we don't have the other tools to heal them or help them anymore. But compassion goes a really long way. So we're going to work on that. Now, another one is to engage in prayer, to pray. And it doesn't have to be formal prayer. It could be that gratitude prayer. Thank you is all God really cares. Say thank you. But also it's setting your intention. If we set an intention, I will be kinder. I will be more patient tomorrow. I will be more open. I will allow other people to be themselves without my judgment being there. Spiritual intentions aren't huge intentions. They're just little small things. And even prayer, for instance. When we were children, most families did say a prayer before they ate meals. Sometimes we need to just say a little prayer of thanks for the food that's on our table. We've forgotten that little prayer. Maybe a little prayer before you go to sleep that mentions what you might need tomorrow, or pray for someone else. I'm not a person that has a lot of time for prayer, and sometimes I thought Spirit was going to ream me about that. What Spirit said to me, Cindi, is work is prayer. When you do your work with intention, when you do your work with intention to help and heal others, we hear that as prayer. And I said, Cindi, you're tired a lot. You just had a long day. We have heard your prayers all day, because before every reading, I say to Spirit, please help me to help them with what they need help. I say that before every reading, and I didn't realize that was prayer. It just came out of my mind.
people have to, it's funny that you should say that, because when we were preparing for the show, I took a few minutes by myself, whatever, and I did the doom scrolling like everybody does. And I've only seen this movie once, but I love Morgan Freeman. So when the clip came on, when the reel came on, I watched it, and it's so, so true that I'm going to use it here. There was a movie called like Bruce Almighty with Jim
Yes.
Carrey in it. And then they did a follow up with Steve Carell. I don't remember what that was, but it was a part two to that where Morgan Freeman played God. And in the clip, the Steve Carell's wife in the movie, she asks for a basket of fries, and of course Morgan Freeman is there cleaning the table and everything, and they start chit chatting, and he says, you have to remember something. If you ask God for patience, do you think that God actually gives you more patience, or does he give you opportunities to be patient? If you ask God for more kindness, do you think he really gives you more kindness, or does he give you the opportunity to be kind? And then he said, and if you pray to God that you want to be closer to your family, do you think that he actually makes you closer and gives you the warm and fuzzies, or does he give you the opportunity to be close? And
Exactly.
that's just one of those things. Like I said, I was never really a big fan of those movies, but I love him, and I listened, and it was just so accurate. And sometimes just the act of not necessarily doing the whole prayer thing, but sometimes just being able to notice those opportunities that you're being given for compassion, for quiet, to relieve somebody's pain, to be kind, just getting that alignment within yourself, and projecting that alignment to other people. Sometimes just that's the prayer itself. It's just
Exactly.
recognizing the opportunity.
So we're not talking that you have to read
No.
volumes of things. We're just saying be open, pick up a book just for some inspiration. And those are higher frequency vibrations. The more that we put higher vibrations into us, the more we open to spirit. We all know when we're vibrating high. We
Yeah.
also know when we're vibrating very low. And we never feel good to vibrate low. As an empath, there are two kinds of empaths, negative empaths. They're actually energy vampires and energy sadists. They know they're hurting. But if you're a good empath, you can't even respond in a way that sometimes people deserve. They deserve the cruel words or the whatever you're going to do because they have been so cruel. But I never feel happy when I do that. I know I could have responded higher than that, or paused or said nothing. But to go down to that level is never going to feel good for someone who's on a spiritual path. Learn that about yourself. That's why some people don't want this path. And I'm telling you, if you don't want to go higher, don't listen to this podcast and don't listen to it again. Because if you're going to go higher, you're never going to be able to go lower and enjoy it anymore because you're on that path. And it's not saying that you won't go lower. It's just that you're going to do some deep soul searching after that. And you're going to not feel good about the way you responded. The other one we were going to talk about, we had a whole show about, which is forgiveness. If you want to open to spirit, you learn to forgive. And we talked about that. And please listen to our last podcast if you didn't, because we went very into detail that you forgive people, not actions. That forgiveness sets you free from
Forgiving to
victim
forget is bullshit.
consciousness. Well, we're not going to forget. We're going to forgive
No.
and remember. Forgiveness is probably one of the most important things we could ever do. Also, listening deeply when someone speaks. We've talked about this in other shows, giving people full attention, listening.
Phone down when somebody's talking to you.
Listen. When I do readings, I have to listen so acutely because every word that people speak, every word has a vibration. A higher word, love, is a very high energy frequency word. Hate is a very low one. The choice of words, what people say, how they say it, the tone they say it, tells me a great deal, but I have to listen with my eyes. I have to observe it, to listen with my ears. I have to listen with my gut. So when people speak, listen deeply, because in doing that, spirit then hears it, registers, and will put the right words in your mouth to say. All of a sudden you say, I don't know how I knew to say that, but it was what they needed to hear. But listening deeply opens up spirit to come through. if you're not listening deeply, what are you going to answer? You don't even know what they said.
Learn more by what people are not saying.
Of course that.
And
Of course that.
in order to really hear that in their pauses, in the change in intonation, in their facial expressions, you have to give somebody's full attention.
Also, this is a simple one. Simplify your surroundings. Just declutter
Been
some
working on that
stuff.
one.
Declutter, clean. My Italian grandmother taught me that objects have spirit. She was a spiritual woman. And she would say, we're going to wash all my little angel statues and all these beautiful things that she would purchase. So she would line up a towel on the counter and she would put soap and gently wash them. And we would gently dry them and dust the space, put them back, because that was honoring the spirit of these things. And a lot of them that she would talk about, well, this one I had bought in Italy, or this one was my mother's. This one came from my friend. So honoring the spirit of things means clean them. Don't have so much clutter, because the highest frequency is peace and clutter is chaos. It has a feeling of chaos. I mean, there's certain things when you're a creative person, I'm sure my desk has, I'm working on this and I have this book or that, whatever.
Yeah.
And it may look a little cluttered, but I always try at least once every few weeks to organize it. Also, to open spirit is to serve others, to volunteer, to help, to perform acts of kindness, not so you can say, look what I did, I'm so kind. Just offering to help someone carry their packages, doing to help someone with something, even your boss, Andrew. Now, he's your boss, okay? He's my webmaster. He designed the beautiful cover to Confessions of a Reluctant Loyal Psychic, and he's our friend. Do you know, on that blizzard, he contacted me that morning to ask me if we needed help shoveling. How sweet was that? Now, if TJ hadn't been well that day or couldn't have done it, I would have needed help. But I said, Andrew, I think we got this. So it did take us 3 hours that day, 4 hours the next day, but we got a lot of it done. And Andrew drove by to make sure that it was done, or he would have come help. It was just the fact that he asked, and that I knew if for some reason it was too much, there was someone willing to help. Maybe your neighbor needs a little help shoveling out. Maybe someone needs your efforts to clean up their car. If you have a little extra energy left, you do it. Offer to help someone. So also, if you want to open up your pay attention to dreams, your intuition. Sometimes dreams are vapory and stupid and they disappear, but there are times when there is a very strong message
I get my
in a
best
dream.
stuff in dreams.
As I'm saying, a lot of people
My
do.
mind actually powers off because I'm sleeping, and I get the
Right.
greatest things out of my dreams.
And that's what I say, pay attention to the messages, the images. Your intuition is oftentimes dead people telling you something's not right, something's not kosher, you need to pay attention. Pay attention to the little intuitive messages you get, the little hunches that come your way, because spirit speaks in gentle ways. And we often say this funny thing on the show, like, we all know low frequency foods. So if you're going to be eating Fritos and a ring ding and drinking Coca-Cola, you're going to hear, don't eat that shit. That's what spirit's going to say to you. Before you bite that, it's going to say, don't eat that shit. So think that spirit is always putting little thoughts in our head. Another one is mindful breathing. Just take a few deep breaths. Or, if you're feeling tense and nervous, maybe just go to the bathroom at work for a minute. Do some deep breathings and focus on your breath. Realize that you're breathing shallow.
TSD was
Yes, it
mindful
is.
breathing. My therapist had said mindful breathing and feeling your breath and consciously taking in breath and taking in air. It's a way to remind you that you are in the present, not in the past. You're not when that traumatic event happened. You're not when that thing upset you. You are in the now right now.
Exactly.
And it's a way to just bring you back. And, it's a way for you to stop yourself from getting lost in past regrets or in future worries.
Of course.
It's a way of just saying, we're here. We're not in the future. We're not in the past. We're here. And what's happening just in this moment is the only thing that matters.
So all these things open us to grace. Now, grace
Hmm.
is a conscious choice to respond to people with compassion and love and patience and kindness instead of judgment and punishment and harshly. The more that we can do that, because grace is really just unconditional love given, it's giving someone space to be human. This is also given to us when we display grace to someone else. You'd be surprised how Spirit will grant us a little miracle or cut us a little grace here and there too. Okay. Grace calls for us pause before reacting to people, to go higher, to not always assume that someone has intentionally tried to hurt us. Maybe something was going on in their life, to let go of little things, choose your battles, don't sweat the small stuff, giving people second chances if
Or
they
just
deserve it.
recognizing that development is it's not linear. People are going to disappoint you,
And that's the thing. Just
and that's
soften your
okay. It's
right. Be gentle. A little gentleness here and there. This was a different show than we oftentimes do because I want our listeners, after they watch the show, to take a moment to maybe comment on either the YouTube or Spotify, SoundCloud. Which one of these resonated the most with you? And get back to us a few days after you've listened. Did you try something different? And did you feel different?
yep.
Did you
All right.
feel the higher frequency that went through you? I will tell you, Spirit is trying to have us lift. And I very rarely mention how I feel about my spiritual journey. But I felt when I was preparing this with Nicole, I felt my energy vibrating so much higher than I've ever felt it vibrate. I felt like I went through like enlightenment's a tunnel and it's dark sometimes and it's a spiral that goes up and down. But I felt like it pushed me another jump start into that long tunnel of enlightenment. So what I'm feeling like that this was something that was meant for us to deliver to you. This resonates. There's
You
something
know what?
about this.
Well, what's funny is that, and whenever I prepare for our shows, it's always an enlightening experience for me because there's so much information in here, and sometimes I get so caught up because life is life. And when I start thinking about these things, I am reminded of just how much I know and how much I'm practicing and how much I forgot to practice certain things. Spiritual awareness and spiritual awakening is more of a gradual process.
Slow.
It's like the tree growing. It's like a flower blooming.
Right.
It is not like the hurricane or the tornado tearing through your neighborhood. Reflecting, I'm still listening. I'm still, forgiving, and I'm still on that path, even though I didn't remember to do everything. So just remember that just because you fall off doesn't mean that you're off the path.
And it also means give yourself grace.
Yes,
We're going to close on that.
I love
Give
it.
yourself grace. We'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. Bye,
Bye,
Nicole.
bye, Cindy.